a previous episode, we drew a square, which is a flat shape. Then we gave the square dimension by adding a third set of parallel lines, making it a cube. The ability to draw a cube, which is a form, opens up the possibility of drawing many things that we see in everyday life. Today we'll make a realistic drawing using all of these techniques. We're going to start with the basic cube and see what kinds of realism can come out of that structure. First, we need to remember adding and subtracting of the cube because the realism does come from this. The three sets of parallel lines, once again, are necessary to remember, and from that we can turn it into all kinds of realistic patterns. This is using the cubical studies that we've been doing and stacking them together, and we're going to turn this into a couch. And later it could maybe be rounded off and other things could be added to it. And as you can see, everything is based on the three sets of parallel lines again. Just by putting images on top of it can turn it into different kinds of things. You end up with tables, boats, books, television sets, and chairs, pictures on the wall. The idea behind that is a basic cube, not even with much added to it, actually can turn into a whole bunch of different types of things. Just take a look around right now and see how many objects around you are based on the cube structure. This is like a fundamental beginning for a building. A building can be in millions of different shapes and lots of different ways that you could add cubes onto cubes. But it's the details that you add to it that will make it become a building. And some of it are negative structures, some of it's positive, adding them together structures. You still have the three sets of parallel lines going on here. When you put windows into the walls, they have to run parallel to the lines of the wall also. Welcome back to the studio. We're going to try a drawing here, and I'd like you to draw with me. Make sure you have your paper out, pencils, erasers, because we do a lot of erasing. And we're going to see if you draw just step by step with me, because I think there's a good technique here of how to draw a city. And one of the ways to make yourself be more creative is to start just with one dimension of this. And I'm going to just start with cubes. I'm just making this up as I go along too, so hopefully it'll turn out. And just draw your rectangular shapes. And some of them could be rectangular like this too, like the stairway type of thing that we did. And remember that so far we're just two sets of parallel lines, but we'll get into the third set. And just arrange cubes all over the place like this and rectangles. This is how I would like to have you start it, just with an arrangement of the front surface of the cube, just this front side, but maybe a few different kinds of shapes. I'm going to get another one that's a real long skyscraper in the end. And okay, we'll start with that. If you can get something, and don't copy me, just make them up yourself, okay? And then we're going to add the second, the dimension that gives it the third dimension, that turns it into a form instead of a shape. All right, and we're going to project these lines back in space. You've always wanted a building that was like a stairway. This goes back, and so all of these are parallel to each other that we're projecting back. Back in space. All right, see if you can catch up with that so that you get that third dimensional line. This is number threes, remember, back here, and they're all parallel to each other. Okay, and then we're going to cut them off on the back and run it parallel to this line. So this would be another number 2 here. and it's actually butting right up there. Means it's butting up there, I'm gonna actually have it butt up in this corner too and do a little erasing just to make that all kind of tied together in the corner. All right, so now we've got a number 2 here. We're going to cut this off in number 2, straight off that corner, and just make cubes out of these. We're not even thinking about a city yet that much. And this line has to go back in here to where it connects there. Come straight down, and come across, straight down again, across, and straight down again. So we have kind of a stairway. And then I'm going to actually extend this back in a little bit further so it overlaps, and then come back down straight there. So far we just have the cubes that we've explored already and only adding together. We could start chopping into these a little just for the subtraction of a cube. I'm going to cut a hole in here and run this back in space. About that far back, and erase this line here. And gradually, as we add detail to these, they'll turn more into buildings. I might just start by doing that a little bit. I'm going to get this so it's actually back behind. I'm going to run another cube underneath this. So it's actually a small cube and a bigger cube added on top. I'm going to find the center of this. If this were extended across, this would be the center, and extend the line up quite high just to get it away from the others, and make that the front of the building. Okay? And let's just erase here a little bit. And extend this back in space like these number 3 lines. Back in space. This line is parallel to this line out front here. These two are parallel to each other. Now we have the beginning of a building. All right, and maybe in order to make this make sense for a roof, maybe this should run up to here. So you can add this line across here and put like a shed roof on that one. Okay, and probably, let's see, and the same thing here. We'll add another line here and connect this to that and get a roof on top of this. So now we have a way for the rain to run off of it. Let's try something a little different here. I'm going to just put a part of a cylinder up in front here. And this is going to come off the cylinder parallel with number 3 lines, and it'll curve just like that. So we have another type of a roof. I mean, there's a lot of, if you look at cities, you see a lot of different types of roofs. Let's see what we could do over here. We could add a pointed, let's go with a pointed roof here. We'll have that be the top of it, and it'll be like a pyramid up on the top. A little bit of erasing here, and there you have, looks like it shifted a little bit. I'm going to shift it back that direction a little bit more. Make it look a little bit more accurate. All right, and maybe it has a little ball on the top of it. And I'm going to add another cube back behind this just to fill this in a little bit, and we'll say it's there and it cuts off across here. So it's hidden behind the other cubes. And continue back. This is behind, so it's actually going to start up in there and come across. So we've got like another cube back behind. Let's do something different with this one. Well, maybe we could make it be a double archway, like here to there. I mean, if you're an architect, you have to try and come up with all of these different types of shapes so that your buildings look different than anybody else's. I mean, that's partly what being a good architect is about, is finding shapes that don't exist out there. And this would erase that line. You can see now we have a little different guy going on there. And probably in this you'd have some, I'm going to put circular windows in it. just for the fun of it. See if we can get away with that. Maybe if we add a line across here, and there it looks more like a window. All right, and let's see what else here. Let's have this just be not a steep roof, but a point that would come to about here and go back in space, come up like this and there, and do a little erasing there too. All right, so we've got a little, now this looks like it needs to be a little straighter. All right, and I'm going to add another one way back here, like so. Another front of a cube. This is why that straight-on view of a cube really helps you with your creativity, because when you start going on odd angles, it makes it kind of complicated. So we're going to add a cube back here, and maybe a cube on top of this cube. We're going to put another one right on top here that goes up like this and goes back. So we're stacking cubes, the old stacking cubes idea that we were doing. Maybe one more on top of this one. Go back in space. And we have another type of, and I'm going to put another point like that one on this one. It looks like it really wants to go up to a point like that. Maybe it could extend out a little bit, like I made a mistake and did that, but let's do it on purpose. Have it go out. So it's a little bit bigger roof on top of that. So it adds a little bit more character to it. And let's see, what else can we do? We could put this on top of another cube here. We could stack it on a cube. Maybe that runs right off the bottom of the page. Now, the details are what makes it unique too. Say you want to just do normal windows, or I'm going to do normal windows, but I'm going to line them up with this lighter line to help me keep track with the front line, which is running straight across the page, just like the bottom and the top. And I'm going to add lines down through the bottom like this. Like that, and maybe one more in between. And that just kind of helps me. Now I can go through here and add, well, let's see, I'm gonna actually use the two inside ones and darken these. This is kind of a grid for my windows. And every other one of these, I'll add a window to it, like so. So that line in the middle I'll use as part of the window, I guess. Okay, so maybe we'll add another line in here. I'm going to shift it over a little bit to get it to fit my windows. Okay, so there's some possible windows there. And kind of smudge that a little bit. Maybe on this one we could do, I'm going to put a grid on this too a little bit here, so I keep everything straight. And maybe a grid down below here too. And these are going to be arched windows like this. There, and another one, say here. And another one over here. So that it kind of helps to put those lines in there so you can kind of see how it fits. And then maybe down below I'm going to switch to a big doorway that's an archway too, like so. And all of this you can add little depth to it if you want to get dimension of this, so it should have thickness to the windows. That can all be added to get to the realism. Let's see, I'm going to put, means I'm doing arches there, I need to probably continue with that. I'm going to do a great big arch here that cuts across. Maybe it goes way inside like that. So you have a kind of carrying on the same theme all the way through it. While I'm at it here, I'm going to I'm going to rid of that little line. I'm going to put a sidewalk out here. If a sidewalk runs for this little city, it's got to run parallel to all of these lines too. So the sidewalk would run out like this. Maybe it comes across like this and goes back in space like that. Okay? And this line might get erased right there. So, and then being we have that, we could put a tree right here. Looks like it needs a tree right in that spot. So that could be a tree with a little time. We could make that a detailed little tree guy. Could be sitting out there. And maybe inside here, I mean, adding people and stuff to it, just like a little silhouette of a person right in here, kind of gives you a feeling of how big the building is compared to if you have a person to help make that work out, you know, to show up the size. That also, if you put a person that's continue with that same size, a person standing over here, it shows that that is a very big opening that's taking place there. You might just come across the top and do a triangular window up on the top. So that it might just show. And you can just keep kind of playing with this, with all kinds of different archways, and we're going to be getting into contour surface lines, and that's going to be stuff that does this type of stuff, but we'll get more detail into that later. Maybe this is another place where a perfect circular window might fit. And let's see, I'm gonna beans we're doing a few trees. I'm gonna add. This would really, these lines would disappear right now. I'm going to erase those lines like so, because that would all be one plane, and that makes it make more sense too. A couple of trees back here always help to make it look like it's in a real world. A couple branches up here and there help to make it so it looks like it, and then that should probably continue on over here so that it looks like it's going behind all of this. Let's see, and then let's just look at this a little bit. Okay, we need a little bit more subtraction going on. I'm going to actually subtract a hole on each of these sides. So we make sure we use that technique of subtracting from spheres to get part of our images. So that would go back in space like that. This would come out, this would be straight across over to here and back in space like the third dimension. All right, and this one, you project that back and you get that back line. This one's straight up and down. So now we got that whole thing sitting up on columns, which makes it a little bit more complicated. Make that nice and straight there. And let's see, what else can we do here? We got a sidewalk going there. We probably should add a little sidewalk to these, maybe stairways here first. I'm going to just make this come down to stairways. I won't draw the detail of them, but say that's a stairway, and then we get to a sidewalk. So it would run out like so, and back in space like this, parallel to the bottom and the top of the page. And maybe we have a little spruce tree right here. So we have a little tree there, and maybe it doesn't look very good. I need to work on that a little bit. Maybe it's come across more like this. Because even the spruce tree, you'd be looking down at it like you're looking down at all of this. So there might be a tree there and maybe a couple bushes back here that are planted to make things look kind of cool. Maybe another bush over here. So you just kind of can keep adding and adding windows and doors, and that's what brings out the realism. I'm going to add a line down there. I'm getting it kind of crooked, so I want to make sure that this is running somewhat straight. All right, so there's one window. This one would match it. This would match this one. And so on and so forth as you go down. Little details like this help to make it look more like windows. And then you can come back and erase these lines, or maybe those are part of the construction of this. And you know, I could, a lot of times I do these drawing kinds of lessons like this, and I expect you to do it in what, 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And if I were doing this, I would probably stick with it for like 2 months, which is, then you end up with all the shading and all the windows in great detail. But I think that's maybe the difference of making it really look good, is spending a lot of time on it. So I thank you very much for watching this episode, and you can see I could do a lot more with this. A lot more landscape and stuff could be done, but we have another session that talks about landscapes, and we'll get to that too. But thank you for watching.